In simple words, self-esteem is a person's attitude and feeling towards himself. Obviously, one is not born with it. A child is born without any self-assessment. He learns to cognize and evaluate himself and at the same time the whole world in the course of his life from his closest and most important people. However, learn is not quite the right word. It would be more accurate to say borrows, adopts. As if all these assessments are inherited from generation to generation. Here you are, son, feather pillows, your grandmother bequeathed them to you, your father's car and my opinion of you. Use it to your heart's content. Also, subscribe to my psychology channel and like this video. In other words, self-esteem is a storehouse in our head of all the opinions about us that all the important people had about us. In a lifetime, it is not a small warehouse full of all kinds of junk. Then a quite reasonable question arises. What, in fact, in our self-esteem from our own assessment? Yes, nothing perhaps. That is the tragedy. And now you can disagree with me in the comments, but you probably won't. Although I'd be very interested to know what self-esteem people are most likely to comment with. So let's get on with it. All those, you're not a man. You're not beautiful. Worthless little man. You'll never make it. Average, ordinary, wretched, stupid, stupid, stupid. You're ruining everyone's life. Worthless, squishy, etc. Are just echoes of the past in our head that we mistake for our own inner voice. Realizing that your self-esteem has nothing to do with you personally, but simply the way you have historically viewed yourself from someone around you can be a very comforting and reassuring step. Maybe I'm really different? Not as bad as I think I am? Exhale. Yes, different, but then what are you? And then the following question arises. How do I personally feel about myself? And how do I feel about myself? And here it is better for people with delicate mental organization not to read further. I will say something that in popular psychology, which has a humane overlay, it is not customary to say openly to suffering people. Good psychologists are afraid of hurting an already wounded soul. But no matter how hard you try and smooth a bleeding wound, sometimes it is important to treat it painfully with hydrogen peroxide to remove infection, and then apply absorbent cotton and cover with bandages. It is quite possible that what you think about yourself and how you perceive yourself came to you from the outside, but it does not mean that you are wrong about yourself. I'll say it again. You are most likely right in your low self-esteem today. Our self-assessments, hanging heavy around our necks, do not just label us and tell us who we are. By accepting them, we allow them to delineate what we are allowed to do. They dictate our way of life. A loser, if he decides to take action, will always stop immediately after the first or second unsuccessful attempt. He knows how to live as a loser and does not understand anything about successful life. Quite possibly, he is not even ready for it, no matter how paradoxical it may sound. But a successful person in his life has to experience many more failures than the most stubborn loser. If we compare the number of failures, it turns out that lucky people are much bigger losers than those who consider themselves losers. Another example, do you really think that a man who inside himself considers himself not a man is ready to act in a masculine way? Every time he chooses exactly the non-masculine act, so to speak, his own native, understandable, and familiar. According to the same laws, a woman who considers herself not beautiful will behave like an ugly woman, no matter what she does with her appearance. The trouble with low self-esteem is that it dictates to us a certain very limited way of life, which has nothing to do with our real capabilities and abilities. And it is very difficult to admit that in ignorance, until now you have been blindly following your self-esteem like a sheep after a carrot, as if it dictates how you live your life. But the way you evaluate yourself is not you. You are the one who is ready to admit that you mistakenly put yourself in the losers, in the unmanly, in the not capable of anything, in the not beautiful, in the not needed, etc. You put yourself there and left yourself there, abandoned. The thing is, self-esteem is not a given forever and ever. It is a process that is constantly changing smoothly, depending on the very flow of life and our moral, ethical, physical, mental, and personal selections in it. We, again, by mistake, by ignorance, once we put an unflattering label on ourselves, carry it solemnly to the grave. It is normal to be dissatisfied with yourself in situations where you have not shown yourself as you would like, as you secretly, in your heart, expected of yourself. It is not normal to drown yourself mercilessly in your own insults and self-hatred. While you are self-consciously engaged in self-deprecation, your strength is exhausted and time to change is irrevocably gone. But how to change? How do you change low self-esteem when, based on a very specific life experience, you quite deservedly rate yourself low in something? This question could be easily and simply answered with change your experiences and your self-esteem will change. That's really the only true answer. There are no fairy tales in life. Magic wands don't exist, and neither do fairies, by the way. However, the problem is that it is low self-esteem that stops people from having new experiences. We are all obedient boys and girls. We don't go where our strict self-esteem doesn't tell us to go. We keep ourselves out. We keep ourselves in the circle of our self-esteem every time we remind ourselves who we are. You all know it. Nobody needs me anyway. Why write or call first? I will never succeed anyway. Why try again? Or nobody will love me anyway. I'm too fat, not beautiful, snub-nosed, etc. Why meet new people? And so on and so forth. So it turns out that it is not the bad things that happen to a person, not how others evaluate him, and not even how he perceives himself, but how he treats himself in all this hell. And he treats himself lousy, to put it bluntly. The attitude towards himself cannot be changed by any persuasion, logical arguments, force of thought, or willpower. Attitude towards yourself, no matter how paradoxical it sounds, can only be changed by your attitude towards yourself. The way you talk to yourself, what you say to yourself in a difficult moment, how you support, how you help, and how you take care of yourself. Here we are at one key point. Are you ready to learn all this? Because there's no other way. Many people seeking help in psychology secretly hope that a psychologist, coach, trainer, webinar, training, smart book will do something magical to them, and low self-esteem will dissolve on its own. They prefer to be deceived. How about you? Do you think you deserve your own contribution to yourself? Or would you rather give up and leave yourself sullenly and miserably living out your life? Please forgive me, but this choice is yours, and it is entirely your choice. And I wish you courage. Take control of yourself and vouch for yourself and your future. Help yourself. We live once anyway, so why not give yourself a chance? Well, from you, subscribe and like this video. See you in the next videos.